Good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Dead Air Live on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. It is Sunday. It is 9/11, and again, a day of reflection. And we thank you guys for joining us tonight. My name is George Lopez. With me, as always, Mr. Ken DaCosta. We are here on the Dead Air Full Spectrum channel. We are simulcast also with KGRADB.com, KGRA on Facebook, and on YouTube. But 9/11, Ken, good evening to you. I'm kind of blown away still when there are people who are in this field. There are people who are watching tonight who are not even alive when 9/11 happened. And to me, it's still fresh in my mind. It seems like only yesterday that it had transpired. And it's one of those events like Kennedy assassination and the explosion of the Challenger that will never leave our memories, will it?
No, I mean, it's one of those seminal events in our life that everybody remembers where they were at the time. I happened to be working at a military base in Massachusetts.
Really?
How bizarre is that? And
you never told me this story.
No, my uncle was also working for the company, and he kept calling me over. And he said a plane had hit the World Trade Center. And of course, we're thinking like a light Cessna. It's like, wow, hope everybody's okay in the building. And he called me back about 10 minutes later, and he says, another plane hit the building. So at that point, we knew something was up. But by the time the base was like a ghost town when we arrived at like 5 a.m. And I remember driving away that night with like F-14s flying overhead and the front gates of the base barricaded and soldiers out there armed, and the world changed at that point. Oddly enough, it's a story that has a good ending, but the two supervisors on the job that day, one was Bill. His son worked at the Pentagon. And Jay, the other, his son worked at the World Trade Center.
Oh, my.
If you can believe that. Absolutely true story. So there were some anxious moments for them. But, with respect to those who lost their lives, both of their sons were okay. They came out of it okay. So, for a lot of reasons, other than just being an American, it's a day I know I'll never forget.
Yeah. And it was weird for for me, and I was home because I worked nights, that so many people that I spoke to at the time, it was almost like some sort of a group kind of discovery where everybody I had talked to said, yeah, I turned on the TV after the first plane hit, just before the second plane hit. And that was a situation with me also. They'd already been playing some of the footage of that first plane hitting the tower, and then all of a sudden, as they're showing that from a distance, you saw the second one come in, and it was surreal. It certainly was surreal.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't have the ability to watch it in real time, but I remember getting home that night, and watching the events that unfolded, and it's just like everybody. I just couldn't believe this is happening. This is a movie.
Yeah.
That you hope and pray never takes place, but probably the last time we all ever agreed on anything at that point, sadly enough. But for those who may have lost anyone, I mean, taking just a few minutes to acknowledge those people, because a lot I knew someone knew someone who knew someone who knew someone that was affected by it. So we will never forget, and our
Yeah.
continued condolences to you all as you move forward as best you can.
Yeah, absolutely. And an iconic persona in at least four generations, it seems like, is now gone. The passing of the Queen, Queen Elizabeth, and again, that kind of took hold of the top headlines on the news over the weekend. Besides 9/11, was her passing, and the crowning of King Charles. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things going on in the world right now, and you guys could be anywhere else, including watching Sunday Night Football, but you're here with us. Thank you and welcome, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget also to hit the thumbs up for the content that you like, and a reminder bell for upcoming content here on the channel. Our very special guest tonight going to be joining us here in just a few seconds, live from Hawaii, Joe Chin. So we're really looking forward to having a conversation with him, and maybe even other guests. You never know.
Maybe other guests.
So, what'd you
We
do
don't
with your
even
time
know.
off? You had Labor Day weekend. Did you barbecue? Did you go boating? Did you do anything more exciting than what I did, which was never leave the house?
Ghost hunt.
Ghost hunting. I love it.
Last night we had a church and a theater that we did, and a
Ooh.
lot of the regular crew was there, along with Cody and Story. Maybe you've heard of them.
Oh yeah.
And we got a tremendous amount of information from some of the people who were at the forefront of the development of these two places. When they were first constructed, going back to Parsons, going back to people who once worked in a theater when it was a storefront. So, and we had something thrown at us last night, which is always fun. That's always
Never understood that. It's been going on forever. Everybody's talked about their experiences of something being thrown,
fun. Yep.
and it's like, well, I guess it's better than the person being thrown, but I still don't understand the reasoning or the rationale. But
Just being a jerk.
I guess so.
Just being a jerk.
Gonna take an eye out one of these times. I got to be
No, I
careful.
mean, as we were leaving the area, we heard Satori heard a bang, so we went back in, and we were able to take before and after pictures of the area that this rolled tape was on the floor. That wasn't there throughout the evening, except for that time when we made our departure. So, yeah, it was interesting after that because whoever it was only wanted the girl to come in the back and talk to them. So we weren't going to let that happen. So I guess he took umbrage to that. So good. Enjoy the basement where you live.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and again, you never know what you're encountering there. You could have been dealing with a former film producer or film director, and that was his way of saying roll tape.
Cut. No. But if I had a drum roll, I would play it, but I don't. No, I just think it was an old military guy, as far as we can ascertain, who's just he's still kind of a jerk. That's why he's relegated to the basement. So do your worst. If the worst thing that ever happens to me is I get a roll of tape thrown at me, it's like I'm in great shape.
Yeah, big time. You are doing just fine.
Yeah.
Why don't we bring our very special guest on tonight and get down to
Okay.
business? Because I'm excited to have this wonderful reunion for Rise of Paranormal.
Yeah, sure. I mean, our audience knows him as a longtime cast member of Ghost Hunters and Ghost Hunters International. And we're going to talk a little bit about his travels around the world tonight, but been kind of laying low for a little bit. So we're glad that we're able to get him back on here again and get him out there in front of you. He really is one of the nicest people. and one of the most beloved people, if the truth be known, in the paranormal. He's a friend to everybody, and we're going to make fun of each other tonight. So without further ado, hey, let's welcome in Joe Chin.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, jackass, as
Warm
he's
welcome.
otherwise known.
Oh
I should
no!
change that. Sorry.
So aloha, Joe.
Aloha. I just had some poi poi.
It doesn't look like a tiki bar behind you. I think we've been had here.
Yeah, it's
It's
very
one of the cabins.
northeastern, very New Englandy. I don't know.
Yeah, I think we've been had. So tell everybody what's going on. You know, you and I, we got together at Ocean State Paracon, and every once in a while we pop in and talk to each other, but hadn't seen each other for a while, so we had a chance to just kind of, go off and form our own cool kids little party at the Friday night event. So what's Joe Chin been up to, man?
Not much. I've been just going through some health issues. I kind of got some hip issues and I'm going to physical therapy twice a week, laying low. So I'm just trying to recover. I have to walk with a cane. But I'm getting better, and that's why I'm getting back out. I'm starting to do events and some
God.
investigations, and then I'm kind of going off the beaten path, paranormal wise, with metaphysical readings with my sister Chris.
Yeah, I wanted you to,
Wait a minute. Wait. Your sister, Chris?
Yes,
Where
the one
is
that
she?
you make nervous, and she didn't want to come on. She said he's gonna be on there. I said I don't know. I said he
I'm not
probably
buying
will be."
that.
Listen, we had chemistry. Okay, she and I, we bonded. Uh, I, I can't believe that that's actually how she feels about that. Unless you're making it up, but
A little bit, half truth.
well, tell her to come on the show because it's Christine.
Yeah.
Tell her George is eager. What? I please if you. Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
Christine,
there's
what do
Christine.
you mean?
Christine is here. Okay.
I don't know. Is she saying you lie or I lie? One of us does. We'll have to wait and see.
It was a ploy.
So,
Police, we get the whole gang in here tonight.
Yeah.
Everybody.
Well, Ken, I'll leave it to you to start off with, and I'll be over here sending private messages to Christine. Maybe even a couple. maybe even a couple of personal photos. So we'll be back.
Bill, we have a human resources department here, don't we? In case anybody needs to file a complaint. So, Joe, my friend.
Yes.
So I guess the last time everybody saw you in their homes was on television, and you were traipsing around the world.
Yes.
And doing all sorts of cool stuff. And I'm sure I speak for a lot of people who, if they haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, attending any events that you were there, tell us a little bit about that experience. Right from the beginning, I mean, when they pegged you for it and they said, hey, this is what we want you to do. And, oh, by the way, you're going to go all over the world doing something you love.
Okay.
You bastard.
We get some time. Are you all sitting? Because this is a long story.
We got 2 hours, so.
Okay.
They don't want to hear from me, so go.
Well, let's see. It all started, I want to say back in 2002, maybe, where a couple of people were coming into the store I used to work at, CompUSA, selling retail computers and things like that. And they kept coming back quite often. And so much so that they wanted me as their sales guy. So they would always ask for me. And I always have to go in and get their order ready. And I finally said, thanks for making me your salesman, but what do you guys do with all the stuff you buy? And he says, oh, we're getting ready to film a TV show. I was like, well, that's cool. Whereabouts? And he said it was in Rhode Island. And I said, what are you going to do in Rhode Island? It's kind of a small state. I didn't understand what he was doing. But then he further explained that they were filming a TV show about the paranormal. And
so this is actually 2 years before it even aired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. And so then around 2004, it was starting.
Right.
I used to go to the office and listen to some of the evidence that they caught. whether it be video, audio, and it kind of poked my interest. And I'm like, wow, that stuff's real. And they said, oh yeah, yeah, it is real. It'll help people who are freaked out in their houses and would like some help. So that got the ball rolling. And he says, well, we have a team. We would like to offer you a membership if you want to try it. So I did, and I wanted to try what this paranormal investigation was all about because being Asian, you weren't supposed to dabble in that kind of thing. You're supposed to
Mm.
leave it alone. But it happened in our house when we were kids. We were haunted, I believe. Things used to run up and down the stairs, doors would shut, windows would close. We'd hear laughter and giggling and all kinds of crazy stuff. Um, to fast forward to the going to the TAPS team, and I did my first investigation. You get your equipment and you're listening. You actually hear things. You hear walking. You hear scratching or tapping, and you hear things that you didn't think that would could exist.
Mhm.
So then I was so
Do you remember the first place? You remember your first one?
I don't. It was probably a house because we did a lot of residentials then, and I was just the guy doing the cables and the equipment at first, and
Right. Yeah.
and then getting my hands dirty. And but then I got more involved, and I loved it. Hooked, very intriguing. I wanted to find answers for myself because what happened in our house when we were kids and things like that. Um, so then we got to be friends with Jason, and we got to go to his Halloween party one time, and he was getting some phone calls, and he said, "Oh, uh, talking to somebody from LA." He says, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I have a new member on the team. I think he will be a good fit, and um, I want to consider him." So he hands me the phone, and it's I guess LA calling. I'm like, "What are you handing me the phone for?" He says, "Well, they want to talk to you about perhaps joining the show."
Hmm.
Wow. So at that point, I decided to do the show, which was local, and which was great because at that time I never left the country and I really traveled a lot. Um, And then fast forwarded many years later at the live show Halloween on Fort Delaware was when I got asked to do the international show. And at first I turned it down because I didn't want to leave the safety of the United States. It's kind of it's a war
Tough
out
time. Yeah. It's
there,
yeah.
tough times out there. But they said, Joe, talk to your family. You seem to like this ghost hunting stuff and you seem very interested. And I think you should give it a shot. I said, I'll be leaving for like weeks on end and all kinds of traveling. But then I did it, and I'm glad I did because it was life changing for me. Changed my whole perspective, opened my eyes to the world, the poverty in other countries, immerse yourself in the culture and talking and learning to different people. And then traveling with a bunch of people overseas is rough because there's 16 of us and it's just us Americans in a strange country. So we have to watch out for each other's backs all the time. You have to figure out meal schedules and dangerous terrain. But I loved it, all of it. I would never trade it. It was awesome.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you're doing this, because you seem like you're kind of a homebody. You're here in Rhode Island. Probably haven't been a lot of places. It must have been. You must have kind of wrestled with that decision a little bit.
A
I don't
lot.
know if you'd call it scary. I'm sure it was to some degree, but it's not like, oh, we're going to be doing a show here because of course you were on Ghost Hunters and you're in Massachusetts, you're in Rhode Island once in a while. You travel with a group, but your safety net is pretty much gone when you're jumping on a plane with a crew and a bunch of equipment and you are flying to places that you only read about.
Yes.
And were you prepared for that kind of culture shock? I mean,
No.
putting aside the show, you talked about the poverty in some countries, the culture, the language barrier, the difference in money. All of those things are part of it. It's we see the end result in a nice edited format, but you're out there in the world living this thing.
Yeah. It was definitely mind opening traveling to the countries where you couldn't speak the language and there was poverty of unspeakable measures. I saw kids climbing naked on garbage piles looking for things.
God,
When we would go to break for lunch and go to a restaurant, you would see these poor kids scatter and grab whatever food was left from the people who left the tables. And then you see the people feeding the dogs instead of the kids. I'm like, what is wrong with these people?
Fattening them up.
But you get upset, and I bought the kids food, and you give it to them. You're like, so that was definitely eye opening. And then the currency was confusing for me. Sometimes it benefited us, and sometimes it didn't. Going to Europe was more expensive out there to live than in the United States or in Honduras, where you live like kings in those countries in the more poverty
How were
streets.
you greeted and accepted as Americans out there? Did everybody think all you guys are millionaires ready to throw money around? Were they suspicious of you? And the second part of that is, who exactly did you meet there to kind of facilitate the trip? I'm assuming that you had handlers
Yes.
in whatever, South America, Asia, Europe, right?
Yeah. Whatever country we went to, we always have what's called a fixer, and it's their interpreter slash they have production people
Bribing everybody.
that help to carry the equipment around
Yeah.
and to get all the, I guess, technical jargon out of the way so that when we come in, it's a clean communication with just a fixer. They have everything all set up for us: the hotel, where we're going to stay, where we're going to break, who's bringing what, and then of course the dangerous travel. Because when you're traveling with 17 people plus another crew from that culture in a caravan up a mountain, it's rain and muddy, and it's a one lane highway, and you got to pull over, and it turns into two-way, and you're looking straight down, and it's 300 feet drop. It's just rocks. A couple of times we had to like shimmy across the car to balance the weight of the car, so that was
No,
really scary a couple of times.
freaking
Uh,
brutal. Well,
yeah.
Barry Fitzgerald likes to tell us about you driving, which was an adventure in itself. But
Yeah.
as the way Barry tells the story much better than we do, where he's just kind of like, we had our asses in our hands and Jewel was driving and somehow we thought we were all going to die.
Oh, yeah. I think he's referring to when we
We're
went
on some
to.
kind of parallel universe here. It's you and me looking at you and me, looking at you and me,
It's an
looking at you
infinity
and me.
mirror. Oh, I'm
Wow.
tripping out. Who did that?
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah. We'd have to drive, and a lot of the times it was dark because there's no light on those countries, and you're relying on your interior of the car. But when they film, they're gonna stash all these lights on the seats, on back of you, and whatever, and three cameras, and you're trying to look out a windshield that's black, and it's got cameras in the way, and you can't really drive because you can't really see the lights in your face. And one time I was with Scotty and Paul Bradford, and we were doing the drive away scene from the site, and they just had to show us driving away. Well, I almost missed the road and went off the cliff. Had to jam on the brakes, and Scotty jumped in the back, and the wheel was dangling. And we were like scared. I almost crap my pants. All the time I would hit things. I remember another time we were in Ireland. We were supposed to film the scene where you're driving to this ferry tree, and you're supposed to offer trinkets to the ferry so that you would grant your passage. Well, they gave us all trinkets, and they film Barry driving in. They hang their trinkets fine, and then it's Joe's turn. So I'm driving towards the fairy tree, and I guess I came too close to the sign, and I hit the sign and went boom. The sign shook, and so they make fun of me all the time. And another time we were in the castle, I think it was Denmark. We were driving over a bridge into a moat and then into the castle. Well, I had to back up and I didn't see that the left tire was hanging off. And again, we almost tumbled to our deaths.
It's like Jesus God Almighty. It's like, all right. So when you're over there now, you got different kind of cultural things, right? You have the paranormal and ghosts in America. You have the paranormal and ghosts in Britain, let's say. Now you're going some other places where you have all sorts of different religious beliefs, all sorts of, you know, life beliefs, the afterlife beliefs, and everything like that. Did you find? I mean, I'm sure that there was a different approach But were there any similarities that you saw when, as far as how people accepted the paranormal, as far as their claims, as far as their stories? Did it kind of fall in line to what we go through here, or was there something a little bit different? Were they a little more standoffish, maybe? Because you talked about Asian culture, I can talk about Portuguese culture. It's the same thing. You don't mess with ghosts. Very Catholic, all the rest of that stuff. And you go to a lot of countries where Catholicism is huge in South America. So, what was that whole kind of dynamic like going in there as far as being accepted and people wanting to talk, or did you have to like beat it out of them, or
Well, I think it was a combination of all of that, because sometimes you go into a country where their culture is very superstitious and they deeply believe in the paranormal. And then you go into some cultures where they believe in a different entity like the jinn. And when we talk about ghosts to them, they said, "You're crazy. The ghosts don't exist,"
right?
but they believe in the jinn. Um, and then we were in, I believe we were in American Samoa, and we were doing an investigation, and we all thought that it went well. But I guess afterwards they got bad publicity from, I guess people who saw the show and thought that we might have been a little bit of disrespectful to the spirits,
Mm,
which we didn't intend to. So they found it a little bit insulting, and that wasn't taken so well.
yeah.
Um,
Well, I think that's what the fixes are for, right? I mean, how well do they prepare you for? Because I know, like, we're talking about the Queen, but when you meet royalty or you meet a president of another country, um, for example, in Asian culture, it's not polite. Like, you serve someone else, you don't serve yourself.
yeah,
You bow at certain times, whatever the case may be. There's all sorts of these protocols that you have
mm,
in terms of meeting people, and it's just kind of like you stick out a hand to shake hands with somebody and they pull out a sword or something because it's like you've insulted the high priest. It's like, oh, God, what did I do?
yeah, yeah. Let's see. You do have to be careful. There was one we went to Ukraine, and our
Oh,
client, we did not know was a Ukrainian mobster at the time. We didn't know this. So we have a fixer who has all this paperwork, and we're crossing borders, and these armed guards won't let us in, and they were like, "No, no, 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 no." But then the fixer gets out, and she whips out this piece of paper. She goes, talks to the guards, and he reads it, and then he puts his hands up. This guy's got guns now. But he puts his hand up. And he says, "Okay, the orders everybody put their guns down." They escort us off the border into the other side of the traffic that's coming towards us.
in the meantime, you're saying thank you, Pilgrim Films.
Yeah, so a lot of times the fixer saves our asses. But I haven't met many celebrities or presidents, higher ups. I only met the local people. Most of them were very welcoming, very
Yeah,
respectful. I think because it's American TV, a little bit of that, and the subject matter, and then of course the interpersonal cultures. Who I'm Asian and they're Cambodian. They try to see if you're similar.
right, right. And over the years, how long a run did that? Did they have to have like a 6 or 7 year run or something, or more?
For what, Ghost Hunters International?
Yeah,
It went for, I think, about 4 years.
4.
We stopped, and I believe our last episode stopped in 2012 or 13, but then that didn't air till next season, so it carried us over to like 2014, 2015.
Yeah. Answer a question for me. There was a lot of talk around the internet because all of a sudden you go from Best Buy to you see your name everywhere on TV, commercials, the internet, social media. All of a sudden, it's just kind of like, man, I'm just Joe from, Rhode Island. And, all of a sudden you're thrown in the middle of that. So, whether you like it or not, they're going to come after things. And when the run ended, there was a lot of talk on the internet that there was some controversy involved in it. and without, you know, you don't have to take a deep dive into it, but had it just sort of ended its run, because I always thought it's got to be pretty expensive to be flying all over the world. And, you know, sometimes a network just decides, the bean counters say, it just doesn't make sense for us anymore, you know,
Exactly.
to spend this. But there was also talk that there was a bit of controversy involved in it. And so can you just kind of clear that up for everybody?
Um, I think towards the end it was we felt that Ghost Hunters International was almost equal to Ghost Hunters because of
Right.
the countries you went to, and I don't know if that influenced the original producers and maybe were threatened by that, and they cut our show because they said we want to end the show on a high note, but I never understood that. You want to end the show when it's most popular, you know. So I don't know if it was contract issues going behind the scenes. Um, I don't know if it's a jealousy between what show was doing better. So I guess if you had to pick, if you own both of them, I guess you had to pick one or two because it was very expensive out there. I remember a couple of times we went to a country where the site didn't exist and we couldn't do the investigation. So we spent a week out there
Wow.
in an all-inclusive resort hanging out. So they must have blew a lot of money. So I guess that factors into it as well.
Sure.
Um, but I liked it. I wish it continued.
Well, it's had a long run. You guys are like Island, you know, you're still in syndication and the reruns are playing everywhere you can find Ghost Hunters
In different
International anywhere.
languages, it's funny.
Yeah, you know. But you can still find it out there.
Yeah.
So I think for a lot of people, you know, with the paranormal notwithstanding, it was an opportunity for you guys to sort of take them to another country, because there would always be the B-roll that was shot where you took in the sights and people got to see, you know, the good parts of a country. I'm sure they're not going to show the poverty and the
Yeah.
despair and all the rest. But it was kind of like a travelogue in a way, because people experience something on a different level. Um, Not to say there's anything wrong with the continental United States, but you
Yeah.
go in somebody's home, a museum, a library, a theater, a hotel, and we've been there, done that. But, you know, it was an opportunity to see what those things mean in another country and what they look like.
Yeah, because when we weren't filming the show, they would give us a treat. They would call us. They would call it uh, I forget what they called it, but it'd be like an excursion. So whatever country we went to, Honduras, they would fix us up with um, zip lining to give us a feel of the culture and to hike into the woods and to experience zip lining,
How'd
which
that work out for you?
well, that was scary. We're hiking up the mountain and we're doing these little zip lines. And I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. It's only 20 feet. And you get to the next one, it's progressively longer and deeper. Well, we said, well, what if we don't want to continue? They're like, it's too late. Once you're on it, you got to continue. So the very last one was the scariest. It was this long across the gorge, hundreds of feet up above the tree lines. And it was my turn. So I was strapping on the helmet and trying to get the gumption. I run and I jump and I zip line a little bit, but then I guess my weight caught me and it slowed me down. And I was stuck in the middle. they, had to, they had to send a camera guy to come and get me. The camera guy's, all right, I'm gonna grab you. I'll wrap my feet around you and help me catch the camera because it's $100,000 camera. Don't drop it. And he's coming to rescue me. And then we end up getting to the other side, but I got stuck. I was like panicking. Along fine. Oh, this is awesome. And I'm like, why am I slowing down?
You know, it was a big cast, and there was a lot of, you were a constant. There were a couple of people who were constants, but there was always change. Um, you know, well, I remember, you know, people like Andy Andrews
Yeah.
starting on it, Brian Hanwa, Shannon Sylvia, um, and then the cast changed, and it was Chris Williams and Susan Slaughter, and you know, Rob Demarest, and of course Barry and Scott and the whole gang.
And
You're
Britt.
pretty much a constant there.
I was
When
lucky.
you go
People
through
like
cat,
me.
yeah, I know. It's the Joe Chin show, ladies and gentlemen. When you're going through that, I guess two-part question. Number one, because people go on to live their lives, they go separate ways. Are there any people that you've managed to stay in touch with? And were there any people that maybe you met for the first time that you got particularly close to for whatever reason?
There were a lot of cast changes,
Yeah.
and luckily, um, I was able to survive all of that. But I remember the cast people rotating in and out for both personal reason and some other outlandish reasons, which I don't know if I should get into. But the dirty side, and
It's your
again,
show. It's your show, dude.
okay, we were out there in the Netherlands, and I believe it was Britt Griffith that was with us, and we were investigating, and something happened where he had said something and posted online, and it insulted some people.
Hmm.
It got back to LA, and they fired him. They said out, and that's where Scotty Tepperman came in. I'm like, ooh.
Yeah.
So things like that, and then our head leader Rob Demarest, um, which I'll try to be kind, um, wasn't a great guy to me. He was a good investigator, but I think he let his position get to him, and was Mr. Tough Guy, and I'm going to be schmoozing all the women, which got him in trouble in other countries.
Hmm.
Um, but then you get to meet some great people. Like when I first Barry Fitzgerald, instantly I knew we would be friends, and
He's
we remain
solid. What a good guy.
to this day. I call him all the time. He comes over. I go over. So he's part of family. Another person is Susan Slaughter. I watched that girl grow up on TV.
Hmm.
This tough little girl and coming on, brass and different and very opinionated and kind of risque, and people were afraid of her because she was like a hot a hot topic, and she would go off on tangents.
Yeah.
But she's a good girl. I watched her
We
grow up.
we we have had Susan on this show
Yeah,
on a couple of occasions, and I would love to get her back. So I'll have to keep annoying her and texting her. But I've worked with her one time at the farmhouse in Harrisville for Dark Zone. We did a live event. No, we twice. I did the Lizzie Borden house with her as well,
yeah,
and I had so much fun with her. And we just seemed to kind of hit it off. Like she's like you say, she's blunt. She's out
she's a
there, and
firecracker.
I'm a little bit more, laid back and reticent, but it just absolutely works. And one of my favorite people in this field,
Yeah,
and I mean that. And other than talking to her and meeting her on a couple of occasions, so I'm going to second what you say about her. She's just one of my favorite people. She is
yeah,
just so much fun to be around, and
yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
and I talk to Bradford and Scotty from time to time, but not as much as Susan Rosenbaum
right,
and Barry Fitzgerald. I talk to most frequently.
right, right. Well, I mean, I think what a lot of people, and I want to bring George back in here very shortly. I think what a lot of people don't realize is that a lot of folks out there look at what you do as just the greatest opportunity. And so many people who criticize the shows, if given a chance, and, like, would you like to be on a show? Like, I'm sure they would say, oh, no, I don't believe any of this. It's like, stop
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So you get this great opportunity to do all these things, and people don't understand why casts change. And there's a lot of reasons for it. Demographics, sometimes people want to get younger and prettier, and cast members change
yeah.
because that's what network TV dictates. Um, just let me get this one in. I know that you're a mess right now, George. So, um, But a lot of people do leave because unless you're at the tippity top of this profession, you're not raking in money hand over fist.
No.
I mean, you're doing conferences. A lot of these people still, I don't even know how people get leave of absence from jobs for 6 weeks at a time. But they've got children, they've got other things, they've got loved ones back home who you got to juggle that relationship, because absence doesn't always make the heart grow fonder.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of things that people have to go through. And I think that's something that people misunderstand sometimes when it's like, how come they're off this show? How could they do that? It's like, you got to get on with their life, man.
It was tough because I remember several instances with Dustin Parry and having his daughter, and he missed her so much overseas. Sometimes you wouldn't have internet for like a week. You know, he's worried that his kids, you know, back home, and he no contact, and he's very, very concerned about that. And I felt bad about that. Um, but and then other people like Chris Williams, who missed home, who wanted to be home instead of traveling, which I felt bad for, because I said, "Oh my gosh, Susan, Chris, you're traveling the country and the world. You should, you know, appreciate it." But I guess some people are homebodies, and but I say travel. It's life's too short.
It's just like this field, Joe. Some people say, I want to join up with you folks, and within 3 months they're gone because I've done it, I'm satisfied, I'm moving on. It's not necessarily a lifetime thing for everybody.
No.
You know what I mean?
And it definitely doesn't pay a lot. I mean, they pay you enough to survive, but I took that as a, I guess, a pay. But then you get all these extras that I found were very outweighed. It was the experiences and the culture and the travel and
well,
the world.
George and I know what that's like to live in, you know, to be mega stars the way we are and live in relative poverty. But George will tell you all about that right now. I'm going to come back later and roast you. So we'll see you on the backside.
Okay.
Yeah, you would think, you know, the opportunity would just present itself when I was still in the service in the Air Force, and I was stationed in Germany. And you want to talk about so many beautiful places to get a chance to investigate, but this was not even really a field of research, so to speak, except for those few out there, the Hans Holzers and the Ed and Lorraine Warren. So I would have loved, this is going 88, 89, would have been incredible, including visiting some of the most notorious locations in Germany from our past. But our very special guest tonight, Joe Chin from Ghost Hunters International, direct from his Hawaiian resort on the island of Kamanawanalea. And I really I appreciate you joining us.
Hold on 1 second.
I think we've got props. Let's see if we got some props coming on here. Wait and see. I can narrate this. Joe Chin is walking through his Polynesian resort. What have we got there?
Boing, boing,
Oh my God!
Boy, boy.
He's prepared for every contingency. That's beautiful.
I can't pay for like, but you know, souvenir.
Who was that? Don Ho? That's it. You actually kind of look like Don Ho. You know,
I'm the chameleon.
Listen, Joe, I want to do a little fan favorite questions for you, also for the people in the audience, and we will have some questions for you a little bit later on as well in the show in the second hour. But let's go with the one that is probably the most controversial, and I want your take on it. I want to preface it first by talking about Ken. I'm sure you've had enough conversations with him during investigations, during the Ocean State Paracon, and you know the things he's been doing lately with both.
I'm right here, you know.
I know we're talking about you, Cody and Satori, and some of the experiences Ken had working with them with this knocking, and the fact that we are discovering again that the spirits can read your mind. They can also move or travel at the speed of thought. We addressed this just a couple of weeks ago with Nick Roth, and I wanted your perspective on the language perspective, the language argument of why are the paranormal investigators in Germany or in the Philippines? Why are they speaking English to these spirits? Um, and I am one of those people who really honestly believes that once you're on the other side, you're in the world's largest library and you have an encyclopedia of knowledge at your fingertips, including every language that's available out there.
No.
How have you guys talked about that? How is it when it's been presented to you? Have you addressed it?
Yeah. I believe in the universal consciousness that spirits can communicate with you in different languages if they think that you are able to communicate in such a language with them. I remember several times being in other countries where we would get questions written down in their language, and then somebody would interpret it. So we would try to speak in their language, German, and see if we could get a response. And a couple of times we have. And then I also remember the opposite, where Scotty and I were investigating, I believe it was a bunker in the Netherlands, German territory. And we were going down the corridor and couldn't decide where to go, left or right. But then you hear this voice that seemed like it was in a different language. We couldn't interpret at the time, but later on during the review, when we were deciding whether to go left or right, you would hear a German guy say in their language, "Go to the right." So I think they can communicate with you in their language in hopes that you can either get it translated or in hopes that maybe you yourself would know German or their language.
For those of us that have not had a chance to investigate internationally, I've traveled internationally, but never really was one to take that opportunity at that time. Didn't think that that existed. I would have gone out with a cassette recorder if it was even something that came to mind traveling all over Europe. Do you have a location, number one, that is a favorite because the activity was just through the roof? And secondly, being that the history goes so much further back than here in the US, and I know I'll probably see the argument in the chat about Native Americans, but I'm just talking about those European and then the Europeans who came to America and established the United States. Is there a greater depth, therefore a greater amount of evidence in some of the places you travel to overseas? Or is it just as equal as you would expect investigating places here in the United States?
I say for the most part it's equal. And
Really?
yeah, because when we were in Denmark and we were investigating this huge Hamlet's castle, and we actually saw chandeliers shaking, even though there was a 6 foot thick ceiling. And we were like, well, how is that chandelier going up and down?
Yeah.
Um, so, I, and then it's just crazy. You're sleeping in the castle, you hear the moans, and then you hear the traditional chains rattling. It's just bizarre.
You're talking about like the kind of things that are legendary as regards to the paranormal experiences before there were teams and investigators. People just talked about haunted houses with the chains and the moans. You're actually experiencing that firsthand in these castles.
Yes, in Castle Dragstrom in Denmark, we had to sleep in the castle and the haunted rooms. And a lot of the beds and the furniture were period. I was sleeping in a hay bed, which I hated. It was itchy, and but the girl next to me was so afraid. The investigator said, "Please leave your door open. I want to be able to run in here if I have to." So we're trying to sleep. There's no electricity. I'm watching my laptop in a movie, and then I hear change, and then change dragging. And then she comes running in her room because she woke up. She said, "I saw Barry Fitzgerald's glove and hand waving to me out the window." She said, "But my window's on the second floor." So it freaked her out.
I've got to only imagine that you visit because I remember visiting Neuschwanstein Castle in southern Bavaria, and that is the castle that Cinderella's castle was designed after. It's incredible to see. It's
Yeah,
incredible experience.
yeah.
And then you come back to your local armory for an investigation. Does it take away again, or do you just get right into I'm an investigator? No matter where I am, this is the way I'm going to proceed. It's not about that I'm awe inspired about a location. I'm focused on getting the evidence.
I'd say both because I am an investigator through and through, no matter what country I'm in, and how I investigate. I investigate the same way here as I would in other countries. It's just that the history behind those countries and enormous buildings and the history is a bit overwhelming because you don't know what to expect. I'm thinking of a regular haunting, but in a castle that's like left wing and right wing, and you can get lost. You don't know what could happen to you. So you're on guard, I think, because of those immense places and the history. And then you're going through your mind like, wow, all these soldiers are killed and all these people were stabbed and hanged over there, and the torture chamber where they would torture people hundreds of years ago, and you're standing there trying to get activity in a, a dangerous place like that.
Look at a post game review of these investigations, these opportunities, these locations that you had been to on the plane ride home, or these many years later. Do you sit there and go, man, if I was able to go back to this location, this is the experiment I would try, or this is the equipment which didn't exist then that I would use now at that same location?
Yes, I would like to bring better equipment than what I had anyway into
Well,
those
what'd you
countries.
have then?
Uh, the usual millimeters and thermal cameras and shadow detectors. But I think there could be more. Like I would love to bring that the kinetic camera
Oh,
overseas
yeah.
and try to
Oh,
get
yeah.
things like that, and a better thermal camera than what's out there now.
I've got to find myself at this point in time looking at uh, a chance. I missed the travel bug, and I would
Yes.
love to definitely get a chance to do that again.
Yeah.
But the closest we could probably do right now internationally, yet affordably, would either be Canada, which there are castles in
Yep.
Canada,
Mhm.
and also traveling just south of the border because you hear some horrendous tales of activity that go on down there also. North or south, which would you prefer?
Ooh, that's a tough one. 'Cause I liked Europe and that, but I liked the Bahamas and Puerto Rico and, those places.
Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Yeah.
We went to Rose Island in
Oh,
Jamaica.
you did? Okay.
Yeah, yeah, great places.
Now that's one of the things again that I look at a lot of the times. And again, those of you just joining us, Joe Chen is our very special guest tonight, is having the opportunity to try out the cultures, um, the good and the bad from your experiences. And we got about 4 minutes to
Okay.
talk about this with regards to the cultures, the
Uh,
things that you found to be the most enjoyable and the most terrifying, and the food, the most enjoyable and the most terrifying.
ooh, see, the food. That
I know
that
this.
was, uh, a lot of the times traveling and you're going to site, you're eating at gas stations, you're eating like hot dogs and whatever
Yeah.
you grab at a gas station. But when you finally land into a city like Spain, you do get to go out and um, see the restaurants. I remember we went to Honduras and we went to this outside restaurant and ordered the food, and the flies were everywhere. We had to constantly
Oh, yeah.
wave your hand as you try to eat. I get disgusted. I do all of it out. And the market, you go to the markets and all the fruits and the fishes have tons of flies on them. So we
Ugh.
were careful what we ate over those kinds of countries. But then you go to Singapore and you get this lavish Chinese buffet where everything's included and you get champagne and
Really?
yeah, yeah, it's awesome. Awesome places.
I would
So
imagine when you again Singapore, and if I recall that particular episode correctly, was that the one with the school, the villages, and all that?
yes, we
Yeah.
stayed at a hotel called the Shangri-La, beautiful marble floors, glass showers, and the view over the television opens up and sees the mountain. You feel like royalty. So there was some awesome perks.
And culturally, I know you talked about the fact of maybe dealing with drug lords and such in the past also, but your favorite place that you almost felt like royalty?
Let's see. Oh gosh, I felt like royalty. I remember one time flying to Ireland in the airport, and I got spotted before Barry Fitzgerald. So I felt kind of nice there.
Wow.
Let's see. I would like to go back to Australia. That was a beautiful place, and we went during the earthquake at Christchurch, and that was scary. But beautiful places. I got to zorb, and zorbing is they put you in this big hamster ball, and they strap you in with a GoPro, and they roll you down a hill, down a hill, and you're bouncing, and you're trying to film it. That was awesome.
And we have no footage of that anywhere, do we, Joe?
Yeah, we do. It's
Do we?
Yeah, you have to find it. I have it.
I would love to see that. That
Oh
would be
yeah,
hilarious to watch. No, I think if anything else right now, I am jealous. Again, I have that travel bug that I haven't been able to
Oh,
experience in quite some
watch some
time.
food if you can.
Yeah, and again, of course, the budget, especially when you go into places like Australia, there was a point in time in this field that any network was willing to write any amount check because it was just a hot commodity. When we come on the other side of the break, I want to talk about that just a little bit. What happened where it died down? What was there any kind of a cause, or just the fever eventually broke? So I want to talk to you about that. And during our break here, I know you're going to somehow coerce Christine to jump on with us as well. I guess she's been in the chat just tormenting me. So
It's
we're
really
gonna.
late for us. We usually go to bed around 7 o'clock.
Oh my God! Stay with us, Christine. Stay with us. Get some Java. We'll be back on the other side of the break with Joe Chen. You guys are watching Dead or Live on the Dead or Full Spectrum channel. Stay with us. We'll see you in just 3 minutes.
Stay tuned.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
As UFO reports come in from around the world, the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON, is there. We continue to explore new cases and build our massive database. We share our information with the world in a number of ways. If you would like to be part of our investigative team, you are always welcome. What could be more exciting than exploring the UFO question firsthand? Join MUFON, find your friends.
Hi, I'm Austin Butler from Baz Luhrmann's new film, Elvis.
Tomorrow, all of America will be talking about Elvis Presley.
As a blood donor himself, Elvis shared the gift of life with patients in need and asked others to do the same. We're encouraging you to give blood this summer. Please visit redcrossblood.org/Elvis movie today to learn more.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
All right, guys, welcome back to the second hour of our show with a very special guest, Joe Chin from Ghost Hunters International. Just a quick reminder, too, next week, joining us here on the show will be the team from Charm City Paranormal. These guys are doing some great investigating and great locations, and their film style is unparalleled, just fantastic. From the drone shots to the high-definition cameras, you guys definitely want to check it out. Ken, I'm getting some severe feedback off of your just a high hit. Let me hear you talk.
Hello.
Oh, it's just really loud. That's what it is. I'll adjust it from here. Let's bring our very special guest Joe back in here with us too, and I'm just going to adjust Ken's microphone slightly because it's way up there right now. There we go. That might be better. All right, try talking now, Ken.
Hi, Joe. Welcome back to the second hour.
There we go. Yeah, it's on steroids tonight. We have some questions from the chat we want to have get to in just a few seconds here as well. But and talking about that commercial and the guy who plays Elvis. I haven't seen that yet on Amazon. But Joe, you ever get around to watching, and I hope it's not just watching you on reruns, but you ever get around to any of the other shows that are out there continuing on? If you've been watching Ghost Hunters and their return again, or you like me and just watch the Cobra Kai series episode season 5?
No, I do watch some paranormal shows. Mainly, I like the Paranormal Caught on Tape. I like the Ancient Aliens. I like the Science Channel. And I do watch a couple of the other shows. There's one called, I don't know if it's Haunted Town, where the lady bought a ghost town, and it's that girl from Paranormal Caught on Tape, that Asian Cambodian woman, and another guy. That seems to be very interesting. And there's also one with this. I can't remember the name of it. Forgive me. Oh gosh.
Is this on Discovery Plus?
No, it's on regular cable. Discoveries, Science Channel. I look for them on YouTube and Prime Video.
I got to check that one out. I think I remember the girl you're talking about.
Haunted Ghost Town, and I think I want to say out in Utah maybe. And all the buildings they're trying to renovate, and they seem to have lots of activity. So there is a paranormal team. That girl, that's from that Sapphire from Paranormal Caught on Tape. She's on it, and another investigator. I forget his name. Forgive me.
That's really, 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 really interesting. Where's your sister?
I don't hear anything. The lights are out.
Oh my! Isn't it just an absolute sin that a paranormal investigator would stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning, now goes to bed at 7 p.m.?
I'm old.
Saving it up.
I'll be in bed an hour after this show tonight. Trust me. Ken, we got some questions in chat.
Yeah, sure. We'll get to some of our questions here. We have one.
Uh-oh.
Joe, what do you think of taking anything from a location? Like, say, rocks or whatever?
Oh, that could be a no-no. A lot of times when you take things from a haunted place, you could risk an attachment. Just like in Hawaii, when you say don't take the lava because she'll come and haunt you, and that curse reaches far. But I believe that you can get an attachment from taking objects from a haunted location. I have taken stones and things from other countries, but not in the haunted location.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a thing that there are some legends. First one comes to mind, Ghost Town, speaking of, Bodie, California, where people take things, rocks, if you will,
Pieces of
coins, whatever they find, and then suddenly they get them sent back in an envelope with a long story about all sorts of misfortunes that have befallen whoever took them. So they
yeah.
actually keep those letters there as a way of warning people. Plus, you know, if you're talking about a national park, that's a whole other thing that you can't just, you know, up and leave with stuff, you know.
Yeah.
We've got one from our friend Jeff Hilton. Joe, have you ever been in an investigation where you got excited by the evidence you found, but the locals acted like it wasn't that special? Like they are so used to it that what you found was old news.
Um, it I have a similar story. I don't know if it relates to it or not, but we went to Ireland and we went to a hotel where this lady said that the hotel was haunted so bad and she couldn't get any rest. But when we investigated, we found nothing. And she was mad that we didn't find anything. You're kidding me. You didn't find anything. What about this? And what about that? And we were like, we were able to debunk it and explain it away. So we can't really say it's evidence. It's we got to chalk it up as not haunted. And she was
Right.
pissed.
You know, and I think people have to understand that there's value in that too.
Yeah.
Not only because you can put people's fears to bed, but for your own credibility going forward. Because if you're out there just creating things in your own mind, sooner or later you have to live with that. And some people don't have problem with living with that.
Yeah.
But I guess it all depends on the individual, that there's no shame in saying that, you know, and I've said this for a long time. If someone lives in a place for 30 years and they've got all this activity going on and you come in there for 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever, it's kind of unrealistic that everything that's ever happened to them is going to happen to you
In that one short time.
in a very short period of time. So, you know, but people do get upset.
Yeah.
And finally, Android. Oh, what do you got? Android Purity. Hi, Joe. Do you think there was some kind of divine plan involved with you getting this opportunity, or just mostly luck?
Ooh, that's kind of a subject that I think is both true. I think that I was stumbled upon this path by chance and luck. But now that I'm into the metaphysical side and looking back on things that have happened in my life, I think that it might have been placed for me to follow and get to this point. So yes, I do believe that some kind of, I don't know if it's my calling or if it's uh, uh, my personality bringing cheer and getting answers for the people that I come in contact with, making them feel welcome, making them feel validated, as well as proving that things do exist. So
Well, apparently, part of the divine plan was the people at Best Buy who hired you. So I think that they don't get the proper recognition that they deserve. So Best Buy, shout out to you. Hey, if you want to sponsor the show, we're open.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Former employee sitting right here. I wanted to run through some pictures with you because a lot of people may not know that you are probably world-class elite in terms of photo bombing. Okay, and I want to give everybody an example of this type of thing that goes on all the time. Okay, you ready for this? So,
I'm ready.
okay. Here's example number one.
Oh,
This is Ava and Roz, and of course Joe sneaks in there in the background. Here's example number two of Shannon and John Zaffis, and Joe again shows up in the background. Yet another example here, and I have to take 50% credit because I'm standing behind you, but I don't really know what's going on. But here's Steve DeShavi and your sister, and of course Joe. Once again, photobombing in the background. Moving right along, here it is again. With Joe in the back, once again, just trying to get into the picture. Okay, once again, Zaphis, myself. And one of my favorites, just two people, poor people, just came to an event, or I don't know, they could be in a Dunkin' Donuts somewhere. And once again, Joe is just ruined their picture. So world class photo bomber.
Thank you. That's
My
awesome.
hat is off to you, sir. The other thing we just barely mentioned before, but Joe's a bit of a foodie.
Oh my gosh.
As well. And to give you some examples of
Oh.
this is some apparently really bad pizza that you picked up at one point. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but looks pretty good to me. And of course, this is you and George, actually, probably at Ocean State, and you couldn't stop chewing fast enough to just take a decent picture.
I was hangry.
And once again, there's Joe enjoying a Chinese buffet. And of course, once Joe is had his fill, usually has to take a nap after doing that. So just kicking back after a big meal.
Look at that gaping mouth, jeepers.
Yeah. And of course, just a couple of random pictures. This is Joe as the Easter Bunny.
Oh my God, who dug these up?
Yeah. And one of my favorite pictures, as you all know, Ben Hansen is a pretty tall guy. So this is Joe. Ben is actually on his knees to take this photo.
That's awesome.
Oh, my goodness.
Oh, that's great. Oh.
My
Who dug
goodness.
this up, George?
Yeah, we couldn't let you off the hook that easy,
Awesome. I have no shame. I don't care.
Okay, let's get serious now.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow, I got teary eyes over here.
All right, so I mean, you've been kicking around this long enough now, probably 20 years, right? I mean, give or take around 20 years that you've been doing this now.
Oh my gosh.
And had your own experiences. And in that time, because, for example, social media wasn't as big as it is now when you started, didn't even exist when I started. But what has been, do you think, for better or worse,
Mm-hmm.
the most dramatic change in this field that you've seen over the last 20 years?
Oh, dramatic change.
For better or worse, or both? What's good? What's bad?
I think that it's good that people are trying to develop more specialized equipment before investigations. I think that's something worthy and worth pursuing. And then the downside is that I think because it's mainstream now that everybody wants to be on the bandwagon and that everybody wants their 5 minutes of fame, and trying perhaps too hard to emulate people and what they see on TV just to get that 5 minutes of fame. If you're doing it just for that, then I'd say you're not doing it right. I came to do this because it's an interest of mine, and I want to find out the answers on what lies on the other side. How you communicate, whether it's metaphysically, whether it's communicating through the equipment that we develop, or what.
Yeah. Well, I think the advent, like I say, of social media, where, I mean, you've done a show, so you know how it works.
Yes.
And, I mean, you have to be entertaining.
Yes.
To get people to watch it. And this is why a lot of times the interaction between the cast members, if it's something goofy, they include it. They
Yeah.
put it on there to give you kind of like that
Realism.
human element.
Yeah.
It's like you're having a good time, you're enjoying yourself. But there's also a lot of performance art. And people like to talk about these network shows like, they're fake and they're, there is not as much of that on those network shows as you will see on YouTube, TikTok, what have you. And it doesn't include everybody, but you
Yeah.
know how it is.
Yeah.
People suddenly become possessed out of nowhere, and a lot of it is performance art
It is.
because we talk about network TV in terms of ratings. Social media, we talk in terms of subscribers and likes and clicks
Yep.
and viewers.
Yep.
So, how do you hold someone's attention when you know how it is and you go into places and there's just hours of nothing happening?
Well, that's kind of tough one. I believe that if you're a person who is entertaining, who is intelligent in their thinking, who is rational, and who is in it for the right reasons. Now, because I think social media has taken place, that everybody wants to be on it. And I don't know why they call us an actor, but if you go look up on IMDb, they call me an actor. So I don't think I'm an actor. I'm me. So I think that's where they look into that and say, "Oh my gosh, he's on IMDb. All these, he's a movie star," and they get trapped in that side of it. As well as they might have had good intentions in the beginning, but it's also a business. If you want people to see the side of the paranormal, you kind of got to get dirty a little bit. You kind of got to put up with the advertising. You kind of got to put up with the showboatism, but you don't have to lie and make things up. You can still do all of that honestly, sincerely, and if you have the good chemistry between the investigators and know how to handle themselves on television, investigating, and all of that.
Yeah. Over the years, you and I have worked together a lot.
Yes.
In the past, we were together just about every week, every couple of weeks, doing
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And we want to get you and Chris back up on that horse because we're still here, dude. We're still doing our thing.
Yeah.
Your approach immediately, like the first time I went out with you, I guess it must have been at Belcourt, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at the mansion in Newport.
Awesome
And
place.
immediately I could see that your approach, and I'm not saying we have it all figured out or we're the best or whatever, but your approach mirrored mine in as much as you're conciliatory and respectful to whoever it is you're talking to. So, in terms of that, tell us a little bit about things like intention and respect and keeping perspective on these things and how those things work for you.
Okay. I guess being ethnic, that side of that was built into me. Being respectful, respecting your elders, opening door for women, even though it's chauvinistic, uh, picking things up for somebody when they drop. That's what I was taught. When somebody drops something, you respect your elder and you pick it up for that person. So that was kind of hammered into us, and I kind of got it. And then it helped when my father opened up the restaurant business because I saw that side of business. And then you respect the elders, and when you open the doors for your customers and you greet them, you see these little nicety things. It resonates with them, and it makes them feel welcome. And I think that's how you get people attracted to you, just doing those little simple niceties of life.
Yeah, I mean, there's, you know how this field is, there's always an emphasis on the negative
Yeah.
and on the evil. And the truth of the matter is, those things are so incredibly rare.
Mm.
Because I think we've both been in positions where if we're looking at someone maintaining their human characteristics, in the afterlife, nice people are nice people, jerks are jerk. But I think those things get confused times. Like we were talking about the tape that went flying in the basement of a theater last night before we were coming on. We were joking about it on the way home. Steve Mills, Cody Satori, myself, Julie, Mark, that if it was anybody else or a lot of people out there, they would have been, or they convinced somebody that something evil was trying to attack. And it was like a roll of masking tape. If you got hit in the head with it, you'd probably just be annoyed more than anything, but it hit something that made a loud noise. So sometimes we confuse those things because, it makes a better story and it sounds good. Not saying that evil doesn't exist.
Yeah.
But I'm not quite so sure how much of it that exists is a product of humans passing over and wanting to do bad. So how much, if any, experience have you come across where you actually thought that something you encountered or some experience you have was oppressive, negative, demonic, whatever term you want to use for it?
That's only happened a couple of times.
And I ask you this being in other countries because that's a whole nother thing too.
What, do you want me to answer about the other countries or
oh no, I'm talking about your general life experience doing this.
Yeah, because when I got bitten in Denmark, I don't know if my intentions were, I guess, good, because I'm in a castle that's hundreds of years old. I'm thinking that there's nothing there. We're investigating. We're trying to get something to coax on. Nothing's happening. So then I think my intentions turn to this place is a joke. There's nothing going on here, and I think that the spirit on the other side may have detected that, and was insulted that I was being disrespectful after so many times because he wasn't answering me that I got bit. So maybe my intentions got an answer that I didn't want. I was being a jack. Come on, you could do it. It's boring. It's dead in the air. Out in the joke, go upstairs, and that's when I got bit. So I think my intentions turned bad, and that's when they wanted to say, "Hey, I am here. Want proof?"
Right. And I mean, now that you're really expressing and developing more of the metaphysical end of your character and your personality and your investigation process. Probably a good question. Our friend Aaron Bush says, Joe, what's your favorite way to ground and protect your energy before going into a location? Do you have something that's personal to you? Is it like a ritual, or is it just something that, you do for yourself internally?
It's something that I do for myself internally whenever I go into any investigations. I was always known as a kid to always have things in my pockets, a pocket knife, rocks, things like that. But now, being an adult, I've collected these crystals, these blessed cross, the holy water, and now my talisman or amulet. So I think I bring those things, and because it's was given to me by somebody with affection and love and respect, that I keep that religious object or crystal, whatever it is, on me as a protection. I have a protection tattoo in Chinese for protection. I say a little bubble. I vision a little round bubble around me where it's like Star Trek. I'm in my shields, and whenever I feel that I'm getting attacked or a little enclosed, I try to envision that bubble and expand it and be able to push that bubble out. Um, and I've never really been attacked badly that I like slapped in the face or pushed around. It's always been subtle stuff, the scratches, the pushing, the groping, that kind of thing. So I haven't met anything malicious in that point.
Yeah. It's also something I know. Surrounding yourself with white light is, something that I've done on very rare occasions. Just because in my mind, it's like, hey, why not? Right?
Yep.
Want to hedge my bets here. And the last time I did it was actually last night, which is a longer story. But the thing about these is I remember back in the day where a group of investigators would meet on someone's front lawn because, I see this on television, but I've also seen it in real life that, a group of them stand in a circle holding hands and one of them's holding a candle. And can you imagine those people in the house looking out on their front lawn and seeing like somebody carrying a Bible and they're all standing in a circle praying? And it's like, oh my God, what am I
Like
in
watching
for?
Ghostbusters.
It's like, I'm already like a little scared enough, but it's like, oh my God, they're going to battle the forces of evil in here. So I think those things are very personal, however
Yeah.
you want to do it. I mean, sometimes the way I get ready for an investigation is an iced coffee and a chocolate frosted donut.
Always a nice coffee.
That's
Love the donut.
I don't. It's just like my ritual,
Yeah.
And I'm not making fun of whatever anybody does. You do you.
Yeah, that's
But
what I do.
I find as a creature of habit that
Which we all are.
those little things, like going on an investigation, got to stop and get an iced coffee and a chocolate frosted donut.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like, I suppose it's like an athlete who's superstitious, got to put on the left sock for the right sock.
Exactly. Yeah.
And for whatever reason, you are in your kind of comfort zone there. It's like, I've
That's
done
it.
something I've
That's
done
your bubble.
a million times before.
Space.
Hey, we got a comment here from one of our buddies, as Cody. So many great memories with Joe and his family. One of the best people on this earth. Love you, man.
Thank you, Cody. Love you back, man.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to get everybody. We'll have to get the band back together again. So
Definitely.
before we start swapping stories, I think I got to bridge back in here and to our last half hour here. Pepper Jackie, chocolate, yum. Right? She knows what I'm talking about.
Right? Although I was told not to eat sugary sweets during investigation by Mr. Fitzgerald. He says something about sugar dulls your senses and
Yep.
puts up some kind of barrier where you're not able to communicate with the spirits.
Right.
Yeah, I got the same lecture probably about 10 years ago from him about soda. Same thing.
Sugary things.
Yeah. Because
I got
it does.
if you guys want to here before we end this, I had a question that just popped up that from Jeff Hilton. I think it's kind of compelling. So here it is. Joe, have you ever left a place disappointed in yourself because you thought that you should have done more than you did?
No. Whenever we have a case, we usually end up on a decent note. Whether it's with Rise Up, whether it's with Taps, whether it's just me and my sister Chris. At the end of meeting that person that brought us in, they always 90% of the time feel much better and relaxed. We gave them some answers, we gave them some guidelines to follow, and hopefully it took grasp and they believe it, and then reclaim that space and go on. And we tell them we're always here. If you ever need help, you can always come back.
It's important. We got you. All right, come on back in, George.
I'm a little Joe. I'm a little miffed at Ken right now, and I need to bring this up because I know for a fact that Ken has some specific videos having to do with bowling and the trunk of a car. And
yes. I still have those pictures.
Nothing you can prove.
I don't know, Ken. I'm just disappointed in that. But you kind of want to tell the audience a little bit of that story and what you guys were doing.
That's for good.
God. You probably have to see the video. I promise that. I mean, it's out there. I promise that at some point we'll show it to you. But for the Ocean State Paracon every year, in the beginning we used to do a Friday night bowling night where you'd come in and pay, and that money would go to the charity too. So to promote it, I'm glad Cody's here. So Cody, if you want to weigh in on this, we filmed these little skits, and the premise of it was Joe Chin had been kidnapped, and the rest of the Rise Up group was trying to find him. And I mean, this was a 3-year story arc, okay, where Joe was missing, and eventually we had you with a sheet over your head as a ghost walking on a bowling alley, and people were just looking at us like, people were looking at us like we're absolutely insane. We're driving around Roger Williams Park in Providence looking for your body. And then eventually, I don't want to like spoil the whole thing. I don't think I will. Eventually, you were discovered locked in the back of Cody's Mustang, and you survived on French fries that had been dropped.
I urinated in the trunk
between the seats for like 3 years. And eventually, we were at Payne House, and then you suddenly appeared, and everybody hugged you, and you were just telling everybody like, Joe, it's so good to be back. F you, I was locked in the trunk of a car. What is wrong with you people?
Like crazy maniacs.
But just as an addendum to that story real quick, and this is a true story, we were in the dining room area. Now, we had Joe, his face was smeared with dirt and grease.
Glasses are crooked.
Right. He'd been in the trunk. He walked into that room and action. He walked into the room and there was a woman's voice heard in the room, or a child's voice maybe, and it said, "He scares me."
Yeah, I remember that.
So we literally got like a disembodied voice who decided to be part of the cast.
Because I was yelling, I was kicking the door.
Yeah, it was insane. And we actually got a recording. And I remember Steve Mills going, "Anybody hear that? Anybody hear that?" So,
I forgot about that. Yeah.
I promise we will show that in its entirety someday.
Ken, my question is that the way that you treat an international TV star?
No, it's the way we treated Joe.
Joe, it's no wonder you moved to Hawaii just to get away from all of this.
Yeah.
The torment that you had to deal with. But, again, I would love to get a chance, an opportunity to see that sometime. Ken's talked about it before, too. I'm sure he'll send me the link. But Joe Chin, our very special guest tonight. We got about a half hour left with you on tonight. And again, I want to thank you for taking the time and joining us again. Last time we had you on, we were back with the Blog Talk days. That was just like over the phone. And we had a lot of fun back in those days, too. And things were still fresh in our minds and what we were doing.
But I like the video.
Yeah.
This is great.
Now you are endeavoring now with your sister Christine, who I got her on Facebook and we've broken up. But you guys are going down a different pathway here in the field right now, correct?
Yeah,
Tell everybody about it.
Over the years investigating, I think I was developing abilities because in other countries I was overwhelmed and bawled and didn't know why I was bawling, and something took control of me. And then on investigations, I would see what looks like a Polaroid picture in my mind's eye. It would pop up, looks like exactly Polaroid, but or on this side. And then sometimes I see words. One time we were doing an investigation and we were asking somebody something, and then I saw a picture frame with the words "thank you" in it. I'm like, that's strange. Why am I seeing that word "thank you"? But things like that have been happening, and more on investigations where it was frowned upon, where we couldn't use those kind of abilities. But during the investigations, you can't help it. Things blurt out. I remember one case we were doing. There was a woman and a granddaughter. Her mother had just died, and activities happening in the house. It was me, Christine, and Steve Mills, and we went to this lady's house. And Christine got impressions right away. She knew where the lady kept this lucky bullet from her husband in the closet on the bottom drawer. That she said, "How could you know that was there?" During the last
Nice.
EVP session, I was downstairs with Steve Mills, the lady, and her daughter. And
Right.
Steve says, "If you're down here, could you show Joe something that only you and your granddaughter would know?" And then immediately I got this video of an old woman, curly hair, glasses, and she's taking out her teeth, going. So I started giggling. And they're like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "Well, I don't know if it means anything, but I see this lady in a blue dress, curly black hair, glasses, taking out her teeth, going." And they froze. I said, "Oh my gosh, that's what my mother used to do to scare my daughter." So they thought it would happen. And I'm like, so yeah, so things are happening to me. Not as much as my sister Chris though. She's developing these amazing abilities. She's coming out as a metaphysical medium. We work well together. That's why I'm joining up with her, because I'm in the stages of learning that mediumship ability and to hone the skills and whatnot. Um, but she's able to do tactile touch from objects, whether it's personal
Oh,
or
that's psychometry, right?
psychometry. Yes,
Yeah.
she helps people find things.
Wow.
She helped a doctor find something in his office that said, she was at a doctor's office. She said at an appointment, he says, "Hold on, Chris, I gotta find this piece." And then she says, "Oh, it's in the box on the bottom in the corner." He says, "No, no, no, we looked in there already. Vanessa looked and I looked, we couldn't find it. I guess we'll just give up." She said, "I'm telling you, Doc, go in that room, dig in that box, and look in the corner." So he gets up out of the chair, goes in the room, shakes the box, and comes out with it and says to her, "How did you do this?" She said, "I told you, I saw it there in the corner." And the girl comes back and she says, "Oh, you found it." And the doctor says, "No, Christine did." And she said, "What? She's in a chair outside." She said, "Yeah, she told me where to look." So she finds things for people, which is great.
Now,
And
I know what we do, and I am a firm believer on this, Joe, that as we do our investigating, that sixth sense
open.
skill becomes honed, it becomes more sharpened. I
Yes.
believe that.
Yes.
But Christine was never as much involved as you were as an investigator. It's just something that she just naturally has the ability of, because some people do.
Some people do. I believe my parents had it. I believe my father has had what's called cat's eyes in the Chinese community, where if you have cat's eyes, you're able to see the dead and things that you shouldn't see. They call it miao ngan, and I believe my father had that ability.
And so it's hereditarily
I think
passed
so.
down
We think so.
to you guys also. But yours is just clicking in or kicking in right now.
Yeah, it's just I get bits and pieces, and I hear voices, and I see things, and I sense things. But what she does is far beyond what I can do. She'll get a client, and she'll do a reading, and then she'll start sketching, and then before you know it, she's drawing this person's grandfather or an object that's in that person's room exactly where she drew it on the mirror in the corner. Things like that.
Interesting. Now, does that mean you guys have a game plan to move
Yeah.
forward as far as these abilities? Go ahead, tell me about
Yep,
it.
yep. Because of the COVID, we weren't doing that much investigations anymore, and I was kind of not tired of it, but trying to hone in on this new portion of my life and ability that I think I want to help her along, because she doesn't like to go to events. She's shy. She's usually reserved. So we feed off each other. If you ask Ken, we had a session at, at Rise Up in the Paint House one time where her and I were going back and forth, seeing a period in time back in the birthing room. So that was taped, and that was amazing. So I want to concentrate on that more, to help usher in so she can do events and get clients and help people, because she helps a lot of people. Every person that she ever gives a reading to ends up crying
Do you
in a
do
good
you
way.
but do you think, because of your background working so many years as a paranormal investigator on and off camera, that you will look to compound that evidence? In other words, the things that you are experiencing sixth sense wise, to get that reaffirmation, or are you even looking for that? Because I can tell you the same thing right now for me, Joe. If I go out and do an investigation, I want that firsthand personal experience. I'm not worried about proving to the world anymore
Yes.
the existence of what's going on.
Yeah.
It's what I can receive from that.
Yes.
Are you at that same state, or is it still
I'm
something that the validation has to be there?
I'm in that developing stage where I want to develop it more and understand it more because it's happening so often, um, that I want to get a handle on it before it gets away from me, I guess. Because sometimes with Christine, it gets overwhelming for her and she has to shut down and she's got to go and like seclude herself and listen to music to get her mind off of those things that are happening to her. So by us doing it together, not only do I get to do my events, but help usher her into the event world as well, just so that she get a foot in the door
Right.
and go to events and help some people with gallery readings, and to make contacts, especially to make contacts. She wants to make contacts with the other like-minded people, because we think that I feel that there's a big change coming. I don't know what it is, but there's something out there that's that's signaling us. So I want to get a handle on it best I can. So that's why I'm going a different avenue. I will still be an investigator.
Right.
Um, I'm just an investigator that has mediumship abilities, and I will still also do if there's GHI fans. Of course, I'll do that as well.
Let
So,
me let me ask you this question because when I was really neck deep in this field and those sixth sense abilities were kicking in more, and I was doing remote viewing and other things, I then and now would still have a hard time with the label psychic or
yes,
medium.
yes,
Um, and I couldn't explain, and it was the same thing that you were talking about, the pictures, the flash pictures. And I was identifying places I'd never been before, locations, interior, things of that sort. And the people I was trying to help were mind blown over it.
yeah.
But I would not ever label myself in that aspect of psychic because I still, to this day, cannot differentiate between what is imagination and what is something projected or I'm receiving as far as a message is concerned. Do you have that struggle, or have you decided at this point in time that, yes, I can identify the separation between the two?
Um, I can identify with the two. I don't care anymore if
Wow.
you don't believe me that I'm coming into this. If you don't believe me, you don't believe me. But I'm doing it for myself. And if I can benefit people, then I'm going to do it, whether you like it or disapprove or not. I need to grow beyond the normal paranormal investigation, I feel, because I've done it so long, that it's another path that I'm willing to take, and to discover more. And with Christine, she's kind of the opposite. She don't like coming. She didn't want to come out. It was years and years. I'm at her. Come on, you got to do it. You got to do it. Her friends are telling her, "Come on, can you do it?" And then she's slowly gaining the confidence because each reading that she does, she gets more confidence. She'll do 2 readings, she'll do 3 readings, she'll do a group of people and be successful at those readings. So she's building her confidence. And then now she's didn't want to put herself as a psychic, like you
Yeah.
said, because everybody gets that bad stigma. But I said, well, you're a medium. You talk to spirit. That's what you do. And I believe you're a metaphysical medium because you have different abilities, metaphysical, remote viewing, finding things, automatic sketching, all these things, tactile touch, uh, psychometry. So that's all encompassing the paranormals. That's why we picked metaphysical medium because she
You
does
are
everything.
you are stepping in a very murky marsh when it comes to that avenue because, um, and I'll be the first one to say the same thing. I get very jaded when it comes to the term psychic and the people involved with it,
Yes,
particularly the ones who say, I am 100% accurate 100% of the time.
nobody's that accurate.
And,
I mean,
while that would be a wonderful capability, but you've had the ones that have been on television and who've made predictions and were absolutely wrong regards to that. So I don't understand the arrogance behind saying something like that. If you're blessed enough to get those visions from time to time,
yeah,
more power to you.
Yeah.
You know, you're gifted enough that the spirits are comfortable enough to show you these pictures and help through you somebody else, whether it's a family member, loved one, whatever it may be. But when you are just stating it in that sense, it kind of, again, that's what taints, I think, that terminology for me as far as psych is concerned.
It does. It's a bad stigma that we all need to get over, because at one point you're seeing 1-800 call a psychic, all those things. So that gives us who are into the paranormal a bad name. And they say, well, she's charging for her readings. Well, yeah, because she's got to make a living. She quit her job
Right.
to do these things. So she gives free readings all the time. But when you're at an event, I'm sorry, it's business. It's a little business.
It's again, it's that's a whole nother discussion that we can go down that road regards to charging for paranormal investigation. You know, again, people are taking the time, they're making the effort, and you know, I can't fault somebody for trying to make a living with regards to this. When you're on TV, you're making a living. If you're investigating somebody's home, even though it's a field of research, a field of pseudoscience, and you're trying to learn as you go along, but you know, the old saying, a fool and their money are soon parted. If somebody's willing to, you know, give $100, $200, $300, whatever it may be, and that person is satisfied with the results, whatever those results may be, that's the world that we live in. That's, you know, that's capitalism.
It is, and that's, to me, that's the bad side of capitalism.
Yeah.
Whatever investigation I've ever done in my life for the team, both teams, there was no money involved, exchange whatsoever. We would have to supply our own equipment. We would have to fill up our own gas tanks, and we do it because we want to help these people who are troubled. And if we have the time, and if we have the manpower, and we're out to do good and help people, I don't think you should charge.
Right.
But that's just me. If that's what you need to do in your life, because maybe you are down and out and you are an investigator, and I understand that you need to charge a little bit because you can't afford to buy gas, you can't afford to buy this, then I can see where a little bit of a charge would come into play, but not these absorbent amounts. Like, I'll clear your house for $500. It's guaranteed.
Yeah. You're not an exterminator, and you're certainly not dealing with roaches and rodents here. I mean, we can go way deep into that too. I want to bring Ken back as we get closer to the end of our show here, and I want to thank you again for opening up and coming back, man. Let's not wait another 10 years before you come on again. All right?
I know. I want to go out physically, but right now I got a hobble and I got to do years of physical therapy. So
since you're kind of homebound, Ken, why don't we start him up next Friday, 9 p.m., and he can do psychic readings on Dead Air Full Spectrum.
I was thinking we'll start small. We'll give you a nice ranch house or something. Walk in and...
You got to work on the ukulele, though, buddy. That's it. It's the only thing.
I think before we get out of here, I got a little surprise for you, Joe.
You do.
And for our audience, and this is about 3 minutes, and I'm not sure what sequence of this is, but let's take a look at this.
Be afraid.
In spring of 2015, Rise Up Paranormal held their second annual bowling event, despite Joe Chin still being missing. People who attended the event claimed they had witnessed a short, white, ghostly apparition that resembled Joe appearing throughout the bowling alley. Rise Up Paranormal has decided to return to the bowling alley to see if there is any truth to these claims and investigate what has been reported. What you are about to see is pretty scary and may cause nightmares. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright, so this is Steve and Cody. We're upstairs at the bowling alley where we've had all of our past events. And this year we're going to have another one, 2 this year, and we've actually heard some reports of what's been going on. Steve, do you know anything about
people have been seeing Joe supposedly running through the halls, and I'm really excited to be back and see if we can get some answers and see if we can find them. And what was that?
I have no idea.
What's that thing about? Door's moving over here.
I wonder what that was.
It sounded like a door.
It sounded like that door closed.
I definitely heard the door, but there's nobody in here.
There's nobody.
No.
Alright, Ken thinks we should just grab a few of the team while we're here and just see what's going
Let's
on.
grab some equipment. Let's do a session.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's try it out.
All right.
EVP session. This is Cody.
And Steve?
And Wendy.
We're upstairs at the bowling alley, hoping to talk to someone tonight, if there's anyone here. We have these letters. We're going to be asking you some questions. Please feel free to use the letters to answer us.
Whoever's here, could you spell out your name?
Hey, look, the letters are moving. It's me, Joe. Joe? How do we know it's really you, Joe?
What is that god-awful smell?
I know. What is that?
Holy.
What's he spelling?
I farted.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
Joe,
that's
all right.
Joe.
That's typical. Yep.
Huh. There's definitely activity going on here.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely something going on here. Yeah.
Probably the best thing we should do is have another bowling event.
That's
See
a
if
great
we can
idea.
trigger some more
Yeah,
activity.
yeah.
Really good idea.
We can do it Friday night, July 17th.
Sounds
That
good.
sounds great.
Yeah, good.
Good idea.
Good.
All right.
You heard the man. Brought back by popular demand. Join Rise Up Paranormal and the OSPC Charitable Fund for a fun night of bowling on Friday, July 17th at the AMF Bowling Lanes in Cranston, Rhode Island. Bowl with some of your favorite paranormal people as we kick off the Ocean State Paracon weekend and raise money for the Wounded Warrior Project. Admission is $20, cash at the door. Price includes shoe rental. Food and drinks available. For more information, contact Julie DeMay at 774-644-9717.
Well, that was well worth it, wasn't it?
Wow.
I'll tell you what, though, I would put up that production value with any paranormal show out there today.
You're right. Hey, special shout out to Cody, who did the voiceovers and a lot of the
That was a lot of fun.
CGI on that. It is one of 3 actually that we did. So I don't know. We'll find the other ones, but we had a ball doing that. Hi, Christine.
It was a lot of fun.
Hi, Ken. Hi, George.
Hi, Christine.
Have you been talking about me?
I just wanted to let you know before you come home, we need milk. So. How are you, my love?
I'm great.
I miss you.
Yeah, liar.
The last time I saw you, you were buying me coffee at Dunkin' Donuts. You were paying it forward. You guys were in front of me in the drive-thru when you bought my coffee.
Oh,
I
that
remember.
this was.
I've been searching for you ever since. I thank you so much for at least taking the moment to appear.
Oh my gosh. I thought I blushed with my prices, George.
Well, feel free to send me pics on my phone.
HR, where's HR?
I need to know.
Oh, I wanted to put this up real quick before we go too, but I figured, that's for the psychic ability right there, buddy. Holy crap. We are all out of time. I can't believe how fast this went by. I would love so much for you guys to come back again. And I want to thank Joe Chin and Christine for joining us tonight, guys. Next week, we have Charm City Paranormal joining us. You guys have a great night. We will definitely keep in touch. And thank you so much all for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time. Until then, have a great night.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks,
Don't
Ken.
hang up, Joe. Don't hang up.